was confused back then, but now I understand that Christians get thrill from that, for being humiliated by your Jesus is humiliated, when your religion is humiliated. You feel so good about yourself, you are such a victims and stuff.
So you came in here to say your sky daddy was bigger than someone else's sky daddy?
No, he's anti-religion.
Judaism brought to the Europe and the West to subvert it from it. Basically, what Muslims are doing right now to the Europe, it was never acceptable for Europeans. That's why they did to the Jesus what they did, because what he was bringing on this world was so unacceptable for them.
You are wrong. It was not exported. It was not exported. It was themselves who immigrated to Europe or United States. They had the thing. You did not give them anything. They don't owe it to you. They had it. They immigrated, for example, to Europe or elsewhere.
Again,
you think that you are the source?
Muslims, right?
Or die? Could brother die? Thank you very much.
When Muslims are Islamizing the West.
Thank you very much.
When Muslims are Islamizing the West, is that convert or die?
Well, at least we didn't impose that on people.
No, please. I'm just saying, Muslims are
misrepresenting
exactly what
the
Christians
Crusades. He's misrepresenting the Crusades. It's always what these Muslim fucks do.
No, he's not. He's not. I know what he's talking. He's talking about very specific ideology. It's not too new, but I've noticed it's gained a lot of momentum. But he's saying, so there are people that are, just ask him. So Hermes, are you white people first or race first?
No.
Searched the barren desert for hidden
you're that Judaism or Christianity, for example, in Islam, it is a way for you to subvert Jews, for Jews to have control of Christians and Muslims.
Do scientific breakthroughs. White people are the ones who create civilization. That's why Europe looks like Europe and Africa or Middle East look like pitfalls, because they can build stuff. So what they're supposed to do? They on the white people. So to do that, they need to create Christianity, Islam, saying which is exactly what you're doing. For example, Israel. You are doing everything for Israel. You're kissing its ass because you're serving them.
Okay, he's got majorly wrong.
Is this language of the source of all the religious?
I'm talking.
With this language?
I'm keep getting into Europeans forcing religion on Islam. It was Islam had overrun the Middle East, and finally Europeans said enough of this shit, and they drove them out of Europe. And that was what the Crusades. Second of all, shut up. Thank you very much. There was a time that Islam was the center of scientific learning in the world, but then because of Islam, its own religion, it stopped it, because Islam said, well, we're perfect the way we are. That was the thing. The second thing, the West, in terms of production, in terms of agriculture, in Middle East is even inhabitable today, is because of Western Europeans and that little invention called air conditioning. You actually have a place where you can go in the middle of Saudi Arabia, say thank you to Europeans that you're not still walking around with camels, fucking when you get horny, and having absolutely money.
So how
and
Islam, like Christianity, are Middle Eastern religion.
Yeah, that's the only true thing you said.
You were to the West.
Everything else you said was
and what Christians did.
You forgot drinking camel urine.
How about you address that point, Allah?
We're just what?
Is Christianity Middle Eastern religion?
Yeah, that's the only true thing.
So you are the
but
follower
see, the difference is
Middle
religion, the prophet in our religion didn't fuck a 9-year-old. Didn't have.
My point was, it is Middle Eastern religion.
Didn't get.
It's not a million.
So what does the Talmud? What does the Talmud preach?
There's that.
You think we're focused on what the Talmud preach, you asshole?
Well, good morning, and thank you so much
In
for
order to
coming
convert
out today.
Our
Thank you very
prophet
much for
didn't say it's okay
helping
to rape and kill anyone who doesn't believe
Yes,
it.
Yes, your Middle
Okay,
Eastern
no,
Talmud.
It says you can rape a 3-year-old child in the Talmud. You lying bitch.
Don't fuck somebody who doesn't believe it.
Jesus is Middle Eastern.
Sorry.
Your prophet is Middle Eastern.
The Bible is
Trinity of the prophets, if you take the text for what they are as historical documents, Jesus did not use his religion to enslave others. Muhammad did.
Again, my point was that Christianity is Middle Eastern religion. I wasn't talking about
Christianity.
It makes no difference.
Christianity conditions people. What the fuck are
That's
you talking about?
the Torah was
And
created
then
in
Muhammad
Africa.
came
Like, that's where it was.
500
It was in
years
Egypt.
later and said, "Oh, let me take Jimmy gets fucked by 5 other black men or fucks a 9-year-old and say I'm the final religion," which was a great idea. Except now, 1,500 years later, you have people living like they're in the Middle Ages because they
So he isn't going to address my
This was
point,
good
my
enough,
actual
so he
point.
doesn't.
He's going to talk
All right,
all
I'm
this
done
bullshit,
arguing.
but
Somebody else
Can
argue.
I ask a question? I've been listening patiently. So anyone and everyone who finds it necessary to condemn, ridicule, insult, or put down, or derogate, or whatever, other people's religion, I really, out of sheer morbid, atheistic, non-religious, like curiosity, why do you need to do that? What does that serve you?
Why do atheists need to make fun of religions?
Because it
You
is
see it
true.
all the time. And
Christianity
they
is
mock
Middle Eastern
religions.
religion, which was
So
brought
was
to
an
the
atheist.
West
You're
to
not
make
of it.
white
It's
people
just
say
atheism
Middle
is
Eastern,
your
which
religion.
is exactly what you are doing. Prove it wrong.
So
Can
why-
you do
why-
that? Can
why
you
people
address
worship
that
Arab?
point?
Excuse me?
Jews are Arabs, by the way, if you don't know that.
Okay, I think I know that. Why are these
Arab.
white people worshiping?
How can they be Arab when they were before the Jews, when they were before the Arabs, you Nimrod?
Also,
Wait,
Islam is called Abrahamic
What
religion,
difference
alongside with Judaism and Christianity, doesn't it?
Wait,
Oh,
wait.
dumb.
So
This is dumb.
this has been a thing. Everybody, there is some truth to it. The grain of truth is if you were to look at, for example, if you are a racialist, let's say you're pro-white. Now, there's one thing that really gets in your way ideologically. That is religion. Okay, religion also pacifies people because if you look at Christianity, everybody's a child of God, whether they're black or yellow, or it doesn't matter. When it comes to how you deal with how you fight for, let's say, your race, well, it's kind of immoral to kill people because they're different than you, or to kick people out, or to not feed the poor or the hungry, or let in refugees. It's who are the people that bring in all of these fucking people? This is why.
I want to go back.
Let me elaborate that specifically. All the religions, Abrahamic religions, they break the concept of the kinship. That's
You're
why.
like the youngest child on the block here, and you're trying to tell the older child the
No, hold on. This is it's not a radical concept. Religion does make it so that it does go against having an ethno state or being for your racial group first. That's an absolute fact.
Of course it does.
No, but can I
Ask any Christian. Tell any Christian that white people are dying out. He would say, "Who cares? We all are the same.
I was cut off. Can I please have my
In
2
the eyes
minutes?
of the God."
You guys are occupying my indigenous 2 minutes, and you're like genociding my thoughts. Please, can I speak?
So my point is, religions, Abrahamic religions specifically, they break the concept of the kinship. That's why you are so concerned about racism, much even more than about rape. That's what it's all about. Why being
All right,
racist
you
is
make
the
your point.
worst
Can I
thing
make a
because
point
it
on
is
this
coming
already,
from the
please?
Christianity. That's why
Okay, okay, we get it.
They don't give a fuck about racism. All the Western
No, we got that part. But
Jewish
Hermes.
Because they are.
Okay, let Aiton finish.
All right, listen. I don't know who said what came before what. I don't know why it matters which religion came first. Why is something that's supposed to be spiritual, i.e., harmonious and sharing the world together, how did this become an Olympic event or a competition or a reason to hate someone else and tell them that they're inferior?
I can tell you how. When Pope Leo says Europeans must accept more and more immigrants.
All right,
That's
stop.
right.
It's my turn to talk.
Go ahead and finish, man.
Now,
Allah!
there is such a thing as called history and historians and scholars, okay? And they're objective most of the time. I would like to think they're objective, but the idea of history is to be objective. You study something historically. Now, I don't care because I happen to be a Jewish guy. I happen to think that
If you're a
chronologically.
Jewish guy doesn't care white people dying out because.
Would you shut the fuck up?
What happened to you? I thought you were going to counsel the young child.
Hey,
let him finish, man.
I'm trying to finish.
Let him finish. Allah!
All right, listen. You all have a text. It's 2,000 years and 3,000 years, but the text says a lot of things, okay? I grew up as an Orthodox Jew, but I left all that world, including Orthodoxy or any religion, for a number of reasons, okay? And one of them was because of this chosen people idea. I didn't accept that. One of them was a genocide on this group called Amalek. I didn't like any of that stuff. I came in with critical thinking. Okay. Now, to all you
Bingo.
Yes, thank you. Bingo. Critical thinking. So when I read a text, I can, wait a minute. Is this kind of like too convenient? Is this too whatever? So with all due respect, there are 4 billion people that believe. Okay, neither one of these Abrahamic religions, and then of course there's some Jews as well. You need to ask yourself questions before you draw conclusions. Okay, I have a lot of questions. I think it's unfortunate that people judge, okay, whole people based on what they read on one book. All right, so that's what I'm going to say. Is to the person who thinks that Jews came after Islam, I would like him to come up and I just like exchange a few words with him because I want that to be clarified in my head. So who wanted to say that?
What is the genocide of Moloch that you said?
I beg your pardon?
You said you left because of genocide of Moloch.
Dude, he never mentioned the word black. What the hell?
No, he said Amalek. He said Amalek.
What is that? What is that?
Amalekites. He's talking about the Amalekites.
All right. I read it. I didn't just practice it because it was in black and white and my dad gave me to read this. And no, so that was my issue for the fellow that asked, what is Amalek? Amalek was the first nation that the Israelites got in contact with when they left Egypt as slaves. This legend, of course, happened around 1250, 1200 BC.
And those were the black Jews.
What? White Jews?
I'm saying those were the black Jews.
Keep going.
And the very first nation that encountered them were these people called the Amalekites. They didn't know what the hell was going on. They see hordes of people coming. They think the obvious, they're going to come and conquer our land and whatever, so on and so forth. So whoever wrote that down, the idea was never forget what Amalekites have done to you because it was a slaughter, it was a bloodbath. And even to this day, theologically, conceptually, if you see an Amalekite, you're supposed to get rid of them, you know. But I don't think anybody really believes in that.
So thousands of years old.
Just one remark. Doesn't this Jewish guy prove my point about the Jews and all the so-called people who they call anti-Semitic? Doesn't he?
Excuse me?
You have proven with your attitude everything I believe about the Jews.
I have an
That's
attitude?
what you do. You bring your ideology to
Yeah,
white nation.
Hermes, he said that.
Tell them
Hermes,
they should put the religion before the
Hey, Hermes, let me ask you a
Who
question.
cares?
Hermes, he started off by saying he was against the idea of Judaism about and the whole story about the Amalekites. So he's.
Hey, Tom, what do you think about white people being replaced?
That was an
getting
idiot.
extinct. Ethan, what do you think about that?
Skeptical.
Isn't going to answer that, right?
Okay, well, he's a Jew living in Israel. I don't know if he's really
Ethan,
required to ever think about
what
that.
is your opinion on the white people getting extinct, Ethan? Who cares, right? Ethan, why are you so silent now? Come
Is
on.
there something wrong with you, Hermes?
Because it's a stupid question.
Everything's gotta get.
Hermes, let's try to have an intelligent conversation.
It's always get shifted to a different direction.
Ethan, what do you think about white people getting extinct?
It's always to that direction.
Think about this on your ass.
Ethan,
What do you think about
I'm on your
this?
face.
Think about it.
I know what I think about Hermes being extinct, but please, let's have an
so he's
intelligent
not going
conversation.
to answer that question.
No,
Valid
you
question.
didn't. You didn't.
What do you think about that?
First you answer my question, then I'll answer your stupid.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Here you go.
It's
Jewish
a valid question.
sneaky Jew
Why
doing
is
his
this guy
sneaky
even on the
jokes.
goddamn fucking stage? You're an
Sneaky
anti-Semite. You're a
snake.
racist.
Except for Nikki's
Yeah, call me racist. Call me
Oh, he
racist
dropped
to
the A
discredit
word.
me.
Shit.
Yes, call me a racist to discredit me.
You're actually
Very well done. Very well done. It was working for centuries. I guess it's still working on retards. Especially
It's
when
incredible. Mind-boggling. It's just mind-boggling.
We have a new speaker, guys.
the question though.
Let's hear from.
Asking this question.
Hermes down in the audience, and then I can answer him, and then he can come up if he wants to answer me. Okay? Now, this is what we call, if I was a Muslim, okay, and I knew I had names. Anybody? I'm addressing what Hermes said in Islamocentric opinion, that Islam preceded Judaism. Now I'm going to get into my common overlap of ideas. They have names that are similar. The Jews will say Gehinom, the Muslims will say Jehannam. So now you ask yourself, okay, we have etymology. Why don't we find what the etymological source? Everybody here with me?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, I'm following.
Okay, so I would like to ask Mr. Hermes, how come he thinks his Gehenna preceded, okay, the Hebrew Gehinom, when if he was to do some homework and look at it, he will see the etymology of the word Gehenna, or Gehenom, comes from Hebrew, is a certain place, it's the valley surrounding Jerusalem, okay, it's the valley where the pagans used to throw their firstborns in the fire. That is why it's called Gehenom. Because it means gay, which means the valley of Hinnom, the lamenters. The valley of the lamenters. Now, Mr. Hermes, explain to me who preceded what. And every single name of all these prophets that the Muslims have, they cannot tell you the meaning of those names. Every Hebrew person can tell you. Because obviously, when you rip off someone else's homework, you can't give all the answers. So, Mr. Hermes, get up and explain yourself without any racist shit, if you can.
That was actually a good point, actually.
What?
That was actually a good point.
I have a number of these points because I do my homework and I research it. I'm not looking. I'm really trying to be objective and look for the truth. However, sometimes you find the truth sways one way, you find that it goes another way. In this particular case, because I was dealing with an Islamic-centered, whatever he calls himself, he doesn't want to come up and explain himself. And I can do this with a number of name places, with people places, with ideas, so on and so forth. So I made my point.
It's very interesting, Ethan, on your point. So like, I know that y'all don't have the same belief, but it's just interesting how the Jews, the Muslims and the Jews. The Muslims let the Jews come back into the land whenever the Romans were kicking them out. And it's just interesting how sometimes y'all don't see that they did some good things with you guys. But I don't know but it's different type of Jews, so you probably don't see that. But there's like the indigenous Jews, and then there's like, different types, right? So I mean, but y'all did do some good things together. But maybe with Rome, so I don't know. I can't tell for sure.
We might be with Rome.
I don't know. I don't know which side you're on. I don't know.
Are you speaking conceptually with Rome or like literally with Rome?
Well, kind of like conceptually, actually.
All right. What does Rome represent to you that as a concept?
Well, but historically, it was the actual Rome, but as far as conceptually for today, I would say it's conceptual for today because the West is like, in a sense, Rome. Because I do remember Islam actually letting them go back into the land with Adrian. I think it's Adrian, one of the Roman gods. So you guys do have like a history of
You don't
trying
want to
to
get credit.
fight the system.
All right, listen. I want to straighten out again. What's important to me is historical accuracy. There was no Islam until 650 or so of the place. Okay, it used to be called Judea. If you want architectural proof of that, go to Rome. There's a nice little arch, or arc they say in English. Excuse me, I haven't spoken English in a long time. So it says Judah Captua. Do you know what that means? Judah Captua?
I do not know, but I do know.
It means Judea has been captured, okay? And you will see an engravement. You will see like these slaves carrying these possessions that they had to take from Jerusalem. Okay, there are a number of factoids. Okay, but I'll tell you where the name Palestine came from, and I'll tell you when the Arabs came there. Okay, first of all, there was a group of people called the Philistines. They were sea people. They came from the Aegean. They looked white. They spoke Greek. And they ate pork and so on and so forth. They didn't really belong in the area. They came there and they settled the coastland, anywhere from where we say Rafah today in Gaza, all the way to the city of Yafo. They settled the coastlands, okay, the coast. Up until about from 1200 to 600 BC, they reigned and they were all the terror. They were Israel's number one enemy. But they dissipated. They went away after 600. We don't hear about
Colonization.
it.
Yes.
Philistines.
Hello.
I beg your pardon?
It was colonization
Sadly,
What was it called?
Colonization. That's what was happening back then.
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute, okay? But in Philistine, there was no Philistine after 600. Between 600 and 135 AD, it was called a number of things, but it was called Judea as well. That means they had their own self-autonomy. That other empires came in there and conquered Assyrians and so on and so forth. Rome, Greece, they all were there. They all had their party and left. Okay, now we're talking about a place called Palestine after 135 AD. The motivation of the Emperor Hadrian, who changed its name, was it's not an ethnonym, okay? When Palestinians say that they are of a lineage of Philistine, Palestine would be an ethnonym, a name of an ethnic.
Right.
This was more in the spirit of an antonym. They didn't want Judea, so they erased that name. Then they called it Palestine, okay? Now it has been called Palestine for 600 and some odd years. And then the Muslims came in. Yes, they came in and they invaded. And if we're going to call this the colonial, we might as well call this colonialism as well.
Yeah.
Let's be fair. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. All right, we're going to be objective. Okay, now I'm going to go on. And what happened was they lived in this place that was eventually called Palestine. And they consecutively lived there. It wasn't really renamed Palestine until 1917 when they threw the Arabs out. But you can see that the Palestinians are not in direct lineage of the Philistines. They come from Abrahamic descent. They are Semites, or they speak a Semitic language. That's it.
That's
Did I
right.
make my point?
Bro, you on point, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm glad I already got you as a friend, so I'll be watching you, bro. That's some freaking awesomeness.
Yeah, all I care about is accuracy. Look, you want to say the Jews came in 48. You want to talk about the war and 70,000 are killed and all this. I'm not going to argue the actual facts. I don't like to editorialize, but when it comes to this history, I seem to know, and I'm trying to be precise and accurate. And I don't need people changing the history.
Amen.
So
They came in 1912, right? Not 48. They came.
Look, there was always some significant in numbers, okay? But then Zionism comes in, and that's all later. But the point is, the going back to the Rome bit, you know your Bible, right?
Yes, Young Zealous, yes.
Okay, so you remember Edom, right?
I'll say it again.
Israelites believe that the Edomites were kicked out of there, and they're the Ashkenazi Jews and so on and so forth. The truth is, the Edomites were kind of like cousins of the Hebrews, okay? Because it was the brothers and Esau. You remember that one?
Yes, sir.
Jacob and Esau. And Esau was called Edom because of his red coloring. So those are the Edomites, and they come from southern Jordan. And eventually they conceptualized that to being Rome. That was symbolic of Rome. So they were at odds. Rome and Judea and Jacob and Esau were always an ally. Ishmael and Israel, these were the groups that always were called two sides of the coin. They were always an ally.
That's facts, bro. And I want to say something very quick before we go into some more. I want to say this, there are, so Arab means mixed in Hebrew, and it means desert too. So a lot of people, yeah, that's a Hebrew thing. So,
Yeah, no, I know it.
that wasn't against you. That was just a point. I want to pass the figure to make another question. But if Arabs do mixed, everybody is mixed, but some people are visually mixed. So therefore, that's why they like people have that going on. There's so much to go on about this. I think thank you easy for actually studying this stuff. So and then so what you just said, now we're here in okay, so did you know about pacifist saying many of the Jews, many assurance that Jews are descended from those people who left the land, something like that. I find a quote. Do you know about Tacitus saying that?
I can't even have a kid with her. 1 second, I got something. I can't even have a fucking little baby with her.
Let me go to the quote. He had some quotes about Jesus Christus, actually.
I got a fucking
The neighbors kept complaining.
All right, here we go. And then Josephus, I'm going to explain Josephus in a minute. Let me start with Tacitus, copying his quote about the Jews, how they looked before it went crazy.
All right, listen, I know this is important to some people about what color they were. I've grown up with this culture, whatever you want to call it,
There's many types of Jews. I just wanted to say what he said, that's all. So there's many types of Jews. And I've come to this conclusion about, even in the book of Acts, it tells you there were many types of Jews all over the planet under heaven. So this is the truth about it. It's not so the Hebrew Israelites, when racism, that's not God's way, and it's not the whole truth. But the majority of the people, indigenous, they were as if almost like Ethiopian and also Egyptian, mistaken as Egyptians, as Paul was, and so many other people like Jesus blends in with them and Joseph. But it's good to know that there's a balance because they got diverse. There was a lot of diversity that happens with these groups of people. Even the Middle East was black, but they mixed in together because of Alexander the Great and the Susa weddings. That was one of his agendas to like, and it wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault that they got into war. The King Darius III, because King Darius III was picking on him. They had sex with they had married visually mixed, right? Because everybody's mixed. But this is written in what is it? Livius.org. You can find these quotes. Let me paste this quote about the Tacitus. This is this is a little bit of history that people don't know about. When they watch the movies of Jesus, only thing you see is two sides. It's either Europe and the Arab version. You don't see the actual indigenous blacks exactly as represented as they were. The image in my PTR is a Judean guy, and so on and so on. So there's so much proof about these people being color type of people, and the very titles we use today called Ethiopian, we think it's one region, when it really was just a description of a dark skin.
All right, guys, listen. There's a video of a black guy in Brooklyn or something like that approaching a Hasidic. You know what a Hasidic Jew is, obviously, right?
What did you say, Ethan? Because I was really trying to.
The bottom line is that a Jew could be black or white, it's irrelevant.
Yeah, most people say that when they're fragile. I think history is just history, that's all. And if it just like happened to be a certain thing, it just is. But whenever it is a certain thing, people get triggered because they're fragile.
No, not triggered at all. I would concede that the majority, by far, of Jews are white. But race has nothing to do with whether one is a Jew or not. And there indeed are black
That's
Jews.
actually a joke toward even in this century, but actually history says it's a joke. But I don't know if popularity or postmodernism is actually.
Why is it a joke?
So like postmodernism and history is different, right? So like you guys think it is postmodern because if a lie goes first, then it seems to be the first one to be right. In the Bible, it says the first to speak seems right until the cross-examination. So when cross-examining history, the history that we got is that we first was given white. And so that's the reason why that's the only thing you see in the Germanic tribes and the Ashkenazi, the 13 tribe stuff. That's the reason why you see that only because that's all.
I don't know
you
what
see.
your argument is. Are you saying that Jews were originally
We
black
so
and some became white? I don't know what you're saying.
If you missed what I said this to Ethan. I said to Ethan, I said, yeah, brother, like yes, there's many type of Jews. There's many, but the original they were black people. What they call black today, and so that makes people uncomfortable only because
No, it doesn't make me uncomfortable at all. It's irrelevant. But it's irrelevant to whether a person is Jewish or not.
Nothing is irrelevant. People make it irrelevant.
Can I do something?
But proving yourself, that's the main thing, you know what I mean?
Young man, may I ask you a question, young?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Okay, and this is for Ethan too. What behavior should I have as a person, no matter what ethnic group I'm in, based on the
Yeah, it's not based off of your skin color. This is just this is information that just like, hey, just in case you.
No, don't do this.
No, I already answered it already, so you should take the answer and then don't try to control it after, okay? So,
No.
Yeah. You're trying to control it.
Yeah, hold on, guys. Ethan, one second. No, you've been talking about ethnicity the whole time.
Yeah, I'm not scared of it.
I know, but no one's scared of it. No one's scared. No, you said young. You did not
No, I'm not speaking for everybody. I'm speaking for those who are
No. What you're doing right now, what you're doing, is you're the one.
No, you should study these things that we
But I have a question.
Everybody, shut the fuck up.
Can a Jew
I'm
speak
shut
Ebonics?
up, everybody. Jesus Christ. Okay, like now, okay, I'll let Edward ask this question. Young, please stop it. You know you guys know how I feel about this topic, and I really just tread lightly. But go ahead and stop interrupting each other. All right, go ahead, Edward.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm not going to question about him. I'll talk to Ethan. He's definitely reasonable, and he actually has history on the side. He knows.
I said Edward
He
could
doesn't
go.
deny it while he's talking.
Wow.
He's just trying to
You know
make
what?
sense.
Young, I'm so sorry that you believe that just because Ethan and you are having some dialogue, that the information you both
Oh,
providing.
look how emotional I am. I can't get like that. Oh my God.
Wow, it's unbelievable. So I'm going to say this again. Okay, based on people's behavior, no matter what ethnic group they come from, doesn't matter to me. I don't care. You can tell me all about the different history. If the people group, no matter who they are, harm each other or harm others, to me that behavior means that whether they're Jew, Muslim, Christian, whatever, what they must not change their behavior to treat another human being better. This is where we go. So I don't care what ethnic group, what you believe or don't believe. At the end of the day, if you conquer someone, okay, people are not conquering people just because of their ethnic group or you believe that God is favoring one group over another group. Come on, guys.
So are you preaching to me like a what? Like a
First of all, young, I'm not talking to you anymore.
Okay.
You know why? Okay, great. Thanks. Because I'm talking to the whole room based on the title. Okay? Each person today is only talking about these different ideologies at the end of the day. These are ideologies. My question goes back to, does any of these ideologies change my behavior no matter what continent I live on? That's the difference. If it doesn't make me a better human being to treat all people with kindness, then why am I believing anything?
I'm just trying to figure out where God said to support Gaza.
I think part of the problem is
is that
Welcome to Clown World. Retards, you spend all day long on a conference call app talking about retarded things all day long, non-stop. Hope you enjoy. I've got the air conditioner running. I'm going to turn the AC down in a minute.
I said
Get
it. I mean,
the full blend of retardation.
correct me.
No, hear what I'm saying. I don't give a damn.
We're wearing a new jade beat necklace.
Let me say it out loud. So
Beautiful.
this is what it is. What they're saying, as far as the Israelites and many other people that's not Hebrew Israelites,
This is a black
they
Hebrew
know this
Israelite
is true,
debate.
but they studied it. But I'll say this first: the last thing, disclaimer, I'm gonna say, I don't believe in racism. I don't believe in racism stuff. Don't believe in that. That's the only thing with them, and also the way that they look with that kind of stuff. I don't believe in that.
didn't say you
The same
believe
thing
in
that Ethan's bringing up. I'll
I
study
didn't
about
say
it.
I didn't say you believe in racism. I said
I'm
you
just
believe
letting you know
that.
because
I said that you believe that
people
race
tend to go that way.
that race presenting, that means that is their ethnic group, and that presentation should be the managing ethnic group of whatever that group is, or whatever that group represent based off of skin color. But
Misnomer, just to try to get rid of.
Well, using it
you know, I
is a common
We're not saying opposite things. I agree.
So imagine you had a couple had 9 sons, right? The same couple, husband and wife, had nine sons, and 3 of those sons went into Europe, 3 of those sons went into Africa, and 3 of those into Asia, and they had their own. Are those people still the same ethnic group? Do they still come from the same or tribe of people? And even if their skin colors, quote unquote, the skin color of their descendants are more like the people that they're around, yeah, they have the same, because they have the same original root, right? And that is effectively what happened with the Jews over time. You have some that went into Asia, you have some, or Israel, Jews, whatever you want to call them. You have some that went into Asia, you have some that went into Europe, you have some that went into Africa, and those groups of people had different groups of children, but they still maintained their identity. And the reason why people don't really understand a lot of this stuff is because they're transposing modern day Western society on your Europe 200, 300 years ago, and the Middle East 200, 300 years ago, where people were not able to switch their quote unquote religion or ideologies like they can switch their underwear in the West, right? In America, you can wake up a Jew, you can have lunch and become a Muslim, and you can die, or you can go to sleep in the evening and be a Christian. In the older world, you couldn't do that.
Well,
You were
conversion is possible. Conversion is possible.
Devin, I'm talking about modern day.
No, you're missing the biggest point. It's called free will of conversion. What the hell do you not get that?
One second. 200 years ago in the Middle East, if somebody were to say that they were going to be a Jew, they would get their head cut off if they weren't really a Jew. They were made. That was both in Europe and Eastern Europe, as well as the Middle East. And even Ethiopia. If you were to say that you were a Jew, you tell everybody around you, they will cut your head off. You couldn't just convert and become a Jew. You could likely convert and become a Christian or a Muslim, because that was normative. And Jews were forced in all of those places. They had reduced rights. They didn't have citizenship. Jews in Europe lived in ghettos. Jews in the Middle East lived in particular palaces and neighborhoods.
It was to believe in a deity against their will. Do you understand that?
Shut the fuck up, Sam.
No, you go fuck yourself, you little bitch.
Okay, that was uncalled for.
They had a demi status.
Called for him to tell me that.
Which is a second class status in society. Maybe even sometimes a third class status in society. You couldn't just become a Jew if you were not a part of that group. You would be killed. People sort of pretend.
We understand that.
People. You mean Jew, Pepe?
No, I don't. White people pretending to be Jews. First of all,
On some days you do. On some days, today you don't, but some days you do.
That's bullshit. Because, first of all, I'm just gonna be very frank. Throughout European history, being a Jew is like being a fucking leper or a fucking gypsy. They're looked down upon. I mean, Why the fuck would anybody do that?
Don't forget about Albert Einstein and Sigmund Freud.
That's the whole point. Is why.
The difference is you
Hold on to it deep.
Like Joseph
Benjamin Disraeli.
You can pass, you can good, but the moment you give your ideology,
What about Benjamin Disraeli?
But the black Jews.
He was a Jewish prime minister.
Different places like the Spanish Inquisition and stuff.
He wasn't a lover.
The visual black people got kicked out, but the ones who were our brothers and sisters, they who blended in, mulatto, whatever, they were able to blend in, so they could pass the moment. That's why they have this conflict still today. Like, hey, oh well, I'm white. Oh well, I'm actually Jewish. Let's not say that because you can't tell on the exterior. So that's what divided up Israel in the sense too. Also, Josephus, he was able to go with the Romans, even though he fought against them. So that's what we have today. It's the same thing.
Wait, what does it mean to be white?
Right.
What does it mean?
That's a misnomer too, right? That's
It means no.
It is
white. White. It's just a skin color category.
I just said that it's a misnomer. That's the point. When I said
That's not what it. That's not necessarily what a misnomer
is. Not really.
Whiteness is a skin color category. Whiteness is a skin color category.
Okay, well, let the whites speak for the. I mean, most of us consider it. It just means you're of European descent, really.
But I mean, that's what it means today, generally. And quite honestly, a lot of North Africans are considered white, and they do not have European descent. A lot of Turks are considered white. I guess you can consider them.
Yeah, for the census purpose. Yes.
Yeah. So, but not even for census purposes, for social purposes as well. But it wasn't always that way. It wasn't even that way 100 years ago. It just sort of became.
No, it always was in the U.S. We had like what we would consider. But like the Anglos would consider the newcomers, especially Southern and Eastern Europeans, as being like ethnic trash in comparison to themselves. But they were, the whole reason they were even allowed to immigrate here is because they were considered white. Our Immigration Act only allowed 3 white people to come here.
Most of those people were not able. They were able to become residents, but not citizens.
No, the Irish
were not able to
become here.
Irish were considered white in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Late
now, people were racist against them, especially the Anglos, and the Irish, also hated the Anglos. But we ended up putting the nation of origins quota, I believe, is it 1924, so that we wouldn't have as many Southern and Eastern Europeans coming here. But no, they were always considered white. There was a few. The only thing that would really, I guess. They did consider somewhat people from the Levant white. So you did have people that came from Syria and Lebanon in small numbers, and they were classified as white.
Yeah, but there were court cases. There were court cases there were cases of them petitioning to be considered white.
Yeah,
right?
there was a police officer in California who arrested a white man, and the defendants, this went to the Supreme Court, but his argument was that, well, this man's not white, and at the time he had to be white in order to arrest a white citizen, and the Supreme Court ruled that he was. There's no clear line where the racial distinctions, like with Europeans, you can get people from the Caucasus and Western Asia, the Levant, even not much North Africa today, but more so in the past. There wasn't like a clean line. It's kind of like a gradient where you have people that are in proximity to Europe. They're obviously related to us. But then, obviously the further you go away from Europe, they start looking a lot different from us, and they are a lot different. But if you look outside the boundaries of Europe, there is a drastic change in culture and religion.
Yeah.
I mean, you have some Christians in the Levant, but then that's when they have, the different Middle Eastern languages. Everything's a lot different culturally as well. So it's just a useful way to, I would say, not just racially, but culturally classify it.
It has areas of applicability and inapplicability that vary with time and place.
Okay, Shah. Did I pronounce it correctly? S-H-A-I? That's
Shah, yes.
Okay, Shah. This is my question for you, based on your understanding. Were people considered religious based on their ethnic group, or were they just considered like being born in a Jewish family may not be your ethnicity or nationality, or vice versa. Okay? So my question to you is, where are we right now on the timeline of looking at people based on their belief system of the title of the room versus their ethnicity?
I think that each of those societies have different things. So Jews have always had a how do you say like a plurality of beliefs within Judaism. You can see it in the Old Testament. You can see it in the New Testament. There's not like a distinct belief. It's not like if you are a Christian, you have a particular but you have to believe in Jesus in order to be a Christian and accept whatever those tenets are. Or like in Islam, you have to believe in the Prophet Muhammad and as the final prophet and all that comes with this. So Jews have always. So all of them are different. They all have their own requirements to be a part of the society. But you also have the Armenians, right, and the Chaldeans. These groups of people they have their own church and they have their own ethnic group that goes within that church. They are Christians. They are whatever, but they have their own traditions and realities and even somewhat specific beliefs within that Christian form of Christianity that makes them part of their church. And sometimes they accept new members, but for the most part, they don't.
Question for you. When you hear the term Judeo-Christian, right, in the United States, what is your understanding of that base? Because out of many, one in America, they're not looking at all the different ethnic groups, but our foundation is Judeo-Christian. What do you understand by that?
I think it has to do with philosophy. I think it has to do with the way I believe, or the way I understand John Locke sort of taking biblical principles and making that into the secular foundation of American Western society and how we run our system, and the fact that the majority of the people in America population or small population of Jews that were there. So a lot of the Americanisms are things that we understand from America. The way the Constitution is formed, the way that the Congress is, the government is formed, a lot of that actually comes from biblical principles that people really have to, you have to read John Locke to really understand where he's coming from and how they found fathers.
So what's the boundary?
John Locke.
Exactly.
Oh, I'll put a link in the chat for you.
Well, we want to be concerned with trends, I think, and the term Judeo-Christian is becoming more meaningful with time because America is seeing itself as Judeo-Christian. I would say we just voted for a President Trump who is supporting religion in America. What is religion in America? I'm sorry. It's religion in America has been Judeo-Christian all along.
But I think that so there's a lot of us who I kind of think it's oxymoronic. And if I'm gonna, I'll just be very frank about actual Christianity. First of all, a lot of people, I'll hear Jews complain about, they have a replacement theology, or there's a trend of some Christians wanting a replacement theology. But it's my personal opinion that Christianity was always a replacement theology. That's literally its foundation. In fact, the earliest Christians didn't think very highly of Jews and mistreated them. I don't.
The Christians were Jews.
Huh?
The first Christians were Jews.
The very first Christians.
Yeah, but we killed those people off.
But you see, but if you look at how.
No, Pepe, hold on. All of the first people in the New Testament
for Jews, I know.
But the Jews who became believers in the
Yes.
way. So when you say the difference, that's why I say Judeo-Christian, The foundation of the United States is because Jews did convert. All of the New Testament are all Jews who converted to.
Yeah, we know that.
I know that, but you don't treat them the same. You don't look at them the same. You call it replacement. No one's replacing anything. It's called fulfillment.
Sure, I think that fulfillment. Okay, that's fulfillment. So this is what I'll just ask the Jews here. So, okay, now this is obviously pre-Vatican II. This is what the Catholics believe. I believe it's what all the Orthodox still believe. But after the resurrection of Christ, the covenant had been fulfilled with the Jews. Jews no longer, right around the time of I believe it was the destruction of the Second Temple, there was some time where Jews had to accept Christianity. But according to Christians throughout time, Judaism ceased to, they can say, if it's my understanding, that is what.
Nobody knows about the covenants.
Exactly. The covenant is still intact. And what covenant are we talking about?
That has not been the Christian view for most of the time Christianity.
But what is the actual question? What's the actual question?
Yeah, okay. The actual question is current Christianity replacing Judaism? No. It never has.
Current Christianity, which Christianity? Because I would say some do look at it as the basic. First of all, okay, I'll just ask it. One of the Jews can answer. What do you guys consider a replacement theology?
I guess the fact that people believe that Jews don't exist anymore, and that the people who are Christians are the real Jews. The old Jews, the original Jews don't exist anymore, and the new Jews are the church, are the people who believe in Jesus, and and that we Jews are non-existent in the world.
Did middle child speak? What about if it was something all three of us?
What about? I do not believe that at all. What I believe is, let me just answer the question.
All right, go ahead.
Sam, as a believer, I believe that Jews still exist. I still believe that Christianity, quote unquote Christianity, because no one in the New Testament ever called himself Christian. Okay, it was called the Way.
No,
we have Jews.
Yes, they were.
Okay. All right, Young. I hear you. Okay, Young.
It's in the Bible.
Young, I got it. Okay. I'm going to say to you, Young, please go back and look at it. They were not. I said again, very clear. They did not call themselves Christian. People say you are Christian or you are those Christians. They did not call themselves Christians.
Peter said, if they call you that, be proud of it.
Okay, you got it. Because you know why? Because they were following Christ. Okay? Whether, and I'm going to say it again, they didn't call me. I don't call myself a Christian, but I believe in Christ 1,000%. I'm a kingdom believer. They consider themselves the Way. If you go through all of Scripture, all of doctrine, okay, Christianity is a term used by the world to refer to all those who believe in Christ, but it wasn't a biblical term. I got it. You can put all three scriptures in there. They use the term Christian. You look at all of them. Okay? So, so I believe that you still exist.
That's fine, but Jesus, wasn't the whole message of Jesus basically that you should follow, that you should follow if anything, they basically condemned the Pharisees as a bunch of sinners.
Fine, we can all argue and keep arguing. What if we
how is that not a replacement theology? But how is that? Hold on. But how is that not a? That's like the whole messaging is that or not.
Didn't Jesus?
I did not come to change the law. I only came to fulfill the law of Moshe. Now, let's go into this. Let's say if you have the faith of the law.
What does it mean to fulfill the law?
It means that the Pharisees were going a little off.
No, what does it mean to actually fulfill a law? How do you fulfill a law?
Well, it depends. I'm not going to get into. I'm not a Judaism expert.
You said that you.
I only spoke from a Jesus perspective. I only spoke from a Jesus perspective.
But you are a Christian expert, right?
Yes. Well, we're talking about 10 Commandments, but if you want to go into the mitzvot, no, but the mitzvot are also part of the law. So but that's from the Judaism perspective, not the Christian perspective. So it's a complicated answer.
That's not really.
I should not be in that position to answer it.
You shouldn't be in the position to answer a
From
complicated
a
question.
Judaism perspective.
What does it mean?
These are offended by what they would consider replacement theology. The Muslims think that Jesus was only a prophet. He's not the Son of God, and they really don't like what we believe in. I don't find it offensive. They just have a different belief.
I think we're just offended when you try to kill us because of it. Not you personally, but like just.
Well, I've noticed is you have evangelicals, which are rather modern throughout the timeline of Christianity, and they have a very warped view that Christians never traditionally held. That this modern land of Israel is promised to the Jews, where that it was never. Christianity never saw it that way, and no.
Okay.
Israel is the church. I mean, the Catholics have been rather consistent on that. The first Christians.
Yeah, remember.
That's not. It's literally the original Christianity, but that's cool. But
remember,
but in the Orthodox same view, and I would say
Okay,
they're more,
let me ask this.
they're more old school and traditional. Hold on. They're more old school and traditional than the Catholics. So and most Protestants are not dispensationalists that believe in what the evangelicals do, and so I feel like a lot of it is they're weaponized. Like you hear Jews complaining about the quote unquote replacement theologies in Christianity. They want us all to be these.
Okay, what if we do the ultimate replacement theology? The ultimate of ultimate replacement theologies, and we say we all agree on something that we all believe in. As a Muslim, you believe in the eye. As a Jew, you believe in the eye. As a Christian, you believe in the eye. Then why don't we go into ultimate replacement AI theology altogether as one?
Is that what who's there around for that?
So I think that you remember that for 1,000 years after the death of Jesus, the Romans controlled the land that we call that is Israel, right? And then for another 1,000 years, almost after that, the Romans or Christians were beaten by the Muslims, and they controlled the land.
That just proves my point. It's never going to stop. So who wants to be there?
Yeah, that's a good point.
But what was your point, though, Sean?
Oh, you were talking about the church never. I mean, they saw themselves as replacing it, but they controlled the land. You said these modern evangelicals, they believe that the land is promised to the Jews.
So we're having perpetual arguments. Is that what it is?
All right.
It's perpetual sibling
Perpetual arguments. Okay. Who wants to hang around a place where people always argue and
but
fight
it
each other?
doesn't really matter. Evangelicals can support Israel for whatever reason they believe, but Israel is here not because of the evangelicals. The evangelicals.
No. I think it's ironic. Is that what I'm saying is that you have these fervent supporters of that are I guess Zionist Christians are all mostly going to hell,
Okay.
Whereas we kind of we don't have any claim to. We don't believe that the land has to be saved by Jews. We don't have we're not told to be anti-Zionist. We're not. They think that we're not the real Christians because unlike they want to all be like these evangelicals that will support them no matter what.
I just asked one question.
No, we don't. That's not what you want. Okay, you have to get it. I don't understand why you believe this. You perpetually say it, and it's actually quite. It's really ignorant of the point. Some people go like BB or whatever they evangelicals because they know they get help. But it's really.
So he goes to A, and this guy will go to B, and then once C will go to A.
So I would say this. I do get that. So it's mostly going to be on places like Twitter, but I do see that the fucking convention by whiny Jews about how Catholicism is the worst. The Orthodox are the worst. Because it's clear in the Bible. Israel belongs to us. And it's like, don't tell us what our fucking religion, how they interpret our fucking religion. We don't do that. We don't tell Jews what the fuck it is they're supposed to believe in the Torah. So like, don't do it to us.
First of all, Christians have done this for like 2,000 years. That is that. I mean, literally. I mean, and quite honestly, the entire Christian. This is part of the replacement theory. The entire Christian religion is based off of Judaism and quite a lot of misinterpretations of Judaism, biblical Judaism, rabbinic Judaism.
But you can blame Jesus for that one.
I mean, I really blame Paul. But
can I just ask one question?
Hold on. It's true. You said what? Right.
I just have, all this discussion going on here. All that I really want to know about all this little semantics and nitpicking aside is who gave the green light for 1948? That's all I want to know. And I'm not asking that to be
the British.
Whatever. Yeah, I'm not trying. I'm genuinely serious.
The British abstained from the vote from the UN. This is the retarded part, right? All of this, the war, blah blah blah. There was a war with the United Nations. America voted for it.
Here, how about make it easy? Who cares? Who cares?
I'm asking.
So what?
I'm asking from a religious perspective.
Why are we even going to go there?
What's the religious perspective? What's the religious perspective?
Okay, so you're asking from a religious perspective?
Who gave the green light? Where is
Donkey Kong on Mars.
Now, it would depend on which.
I'm asking you a serious question. And like,
so evangelical Christians will say that the land was promised to them, and it's part of their end time strategy.
But they had no connection to it. They had no connection to the vote of the United Nations. He's talking about 1948.
Yeah. Okay. So, but how can you make it a religious?
It was inevitable. It was going to happen.
Whatever. When you say,
it was going to happen.
Fuck up.
Oh, who's he talking to?
So when it comes to, okay, so you're asking who gave it the green light specifically in 1948?
Your mama.
Religiously, I don't quite understand.
He wants to know
where is it written? Where is it written? Forget I said 1948, but where is it written that?
United Nations.
What the hell?
I'm asking a serious question.
United Nations.
So
no, I'm asking where. No. In the Bible, is it in the Torah, the Talmud? Where is it written?
I can only speak for Christianity. Okay, the evangelicals with the Schofield Reference Bible, they do this solo scriptura bullshit where they basically read it and interpret it in ways that they should not, or in a literal way, which the Catholic Church and the Orthodox, they would never allow people to do that. So they in their Bible, okay, it says that they believe that Jews need to go back to Israel. Then there will be wars all over the world, and the whole world will be at war with them. And then at the times Jesus will come back, and that's basically
Amen.